The time has come. The time has finally come to step into ourselves. It's literally our rebrand era, and it's time to step into yourself. It's time for me to step into myself. And this is where it begins. No more, I'll do it tomorrow. No more, I wish I did it yesterday. The time is now to actually seize the moment and seize the day. And honestly, 2025 is just the time to step into our season of change, rapid change, growth, elevation, abundance. And I'm sure, just like me, a lot of us can feel the energy of this year. It feels great. It feels empowering. But the only time things change is if we make the changes within ourselves, if we make the changes within our habits, the things that we think about, the things that we focus on, the things that we do. And honestly, it's time. So welcome to this podcast episode. My name is RaySL, and this is the time to be real. So let's be real. Let's be real about all the things that we've gone through, about the future that we see ahead of us. Is it positive? Is it negative? It's time to honestly start to reframe our minds so that we can have the best 2025 ever. The best year that we've had yet. And it only gets better from here. But we have to do the work. We have to do the work and learn how to embrace change, how to embrace the better versions of ourselves, the successful versions of ourselves. Because honestly, sometimes success and change can feel so overwhelming, so scary to the point where you avoid it. And I had to ask myself, why do I keep avoiding things that I know that I want to do, the things that I know excite me, the things that I genuinely feel like I can do? But for some reason, I'm stopping myself altogether from taking the plunge. And then I realized, your girl's scared of failure and success. A double-edged sword. Literally, a double-edged sword. And I guess I had so much of my past that I needed to unpack and let go of. Because the woman that I can see myself as, the woman I'm becoming, she doesn't have room for the old on this journey. We only want new habits, new thoughts, new mindsets, new emotions to follow us where we're going. I don't have space to bring my past with me. So I really needed to look at my actions, look at my life, and start to review everything and figure out what I'm leaving behind and what is coming with me. And face the fears that I guess I've been holding on to for such a long time as well. And it's definitely not easy. It's definitely not easy unpacking all of those emotions, learning to emotionally regulate yourself when you've been so dysregulated for such a long time, learning to regulate your nervous system, learning to actually create a new self-concept, and learning or seeing the ways that you've been hurting yourself on your journey. So when you're actually trying to unpack everything, sometimes you have to go right to the beginning. Where did it all start? What happened? Why are you the way that you are? And a lot's going on in my life right now currently. I'm preparing to move out, which I'll definitely touch on later on in this episode. But as I've been packing, I actually found a diary from when I was like 12 years old. I think I was about 11 or 12. And I brought it with me because I did bring some of my childhood stuff when I first moved out. And honestly, reading this made me really tear up. I felt so sad, but it really confirmed some of the things that I felt within me. And I'm going to read you some of it. So just to set the scene, this is 12-year-old me writing in her cute little diary. It's actually a secret diary with a cat on the front. And it says, "No boys allowed." I got a little sticker and stuck that on the front. And it's funny because I remember this diary. I remember getting it, I think, from my auntie. And I remember thinking, oh, I can write my thoughts in here. This is really cute. But on this specific day, I was really sad. I was really sad. And I started it off by saying what I hate in my life. Real secrets. And this is page 3. Because page 1, I'm just talking about, this is my first time I've written in this diary, so bear with me. I've got a secret, and my favorite boy that I like is... And then the others is just me talking about my best friends at school and church. But I guess that's why I started the 3rd page with real secrets. And this is my diary entry from Monday, the 1st of March, 2010. And this is what I said. I feel very sad because I've got to go to All Saints. Disclaimer, that was a different secondary school than where I already was. No offense, but I have no trust for my parents. My auntie came over while my cousin was here in my house. Me and my auntie had a little talk, and we talked about how I coped with 2 brothers. I said I coped okay. Then she told me that because I don't have a sister, it makes me and my mum like best friends, and I can tell my mum everything. I nodded, but it wasn't true. I noticed that all the girls that didn't have sisters were really close to their mums. I wasn't at all. I wish they understood how I felt, but they never have up until this moment. I hate my life because I don't have a choice. I'm not free, and I can never say my opinion. Maybe because me and my mum are not close because her mum died when she was really young. Everyone else is lucky. Even my friend has a sister, but she can still say things to her mum. Like a fight happened in school, or if she liked a boy. She can say personal things to her mum. I can't. My life is complicated. My parents act like I'm useless and like they don't love me. My dad calls me names like I'm an idiot or I'm stupid, and I hate it. Yes, I do things wrong, but they should still believe in me. But my parents don't. They don't build my confidence up one bit. I wish I could change things about my parents, like for them to be loving, caring, and not always worried, and for them to be the best parents ever. But I can't change anything. And I know that they won't change to be the best parents ever. Don't get me wrong, I love my parents, but they don't show that they love me. I'm the unluckiest girl in the world. This is why I hate my life. That's why if I hear my friends or anyone say they hate their parents, they should come and see mine. I wish I had parents that understood me, but I don't think I can change them. So they will stay nagging me. My life is rubbish. Thanks, diary. And then I wrote, XXXXX. Love your families because you're lucky. Very lucky. And honestly, reading that for the first time the other day, I really broke down. And it made me realize that I have been holding myself back for so long based on outdated emotions. Because I felt like my parents, during that time, didn't believe in me, I held on to that subconsciously, and I've carried that throughout my life and not trusted myself because I didn't feel like I could be trusted. And the one thing I've learned about the subconscious mind is that it can't tell the difference between what's real and fake. So like when I actually unpack this, I'm literally saying I don't feel like I have a choice. I don't feel free, and I can never say my opinion. But then in the same sentence, I'm also saying that maybe we're not close because my mum's mum passed when she was young. So I'm literally learning how to empathize with other people without receiving that in return. And then I ask myself, why have I had a lack of boundaries? Why has it been hard in some situations to exert the things that I genuinely want? Because I never got a choice. And how do you learn something in adulthood that you never learned in childhood? And this is something that parents honestly really need to understand, but for some reason can't grasp. And it just makes me think, I really hope our generation is not becoming just like the parents that made us unhappy, because a lot of people have no self-awareness. And when we talk about children and the autonomy of children, so many people don't grasp it. They don't understand the concept. They're like, I can't wait to have kids so I can do this and that to them. And I'm thinking, are you guys okay? Are you guys thinking, like, do you not realize that this is generational trauma that you are trying to pass on? You're upset at your parents for doing something to you that you are now wishing to do to your own children. Let's make it make sense here. Let's make it make sense here. Like, we clearly all need to be in therapy. We all need help, and we all need to reach a level of self-awareness where we can actually learn to empathize with the children out there. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't try to guide them as they're going through life. It just means that we remember that children are people that will one day be adults. And so it's important to treat them as children who are growing, because how they're treated at a young age has an effect on who they will become. And you know what's funny? I'm pretty sure someone out there can relate to being a young person, just feeling like you're just dismissed, like no one wants to care, no one wants to listen to anything you have to say. Anything that you say is absolutely irrelevant. Your voice does not matter. And then yet you grow up and you're expected to have it all figured out and have an opinion, advocate for yourself and all of these things, when you were silenced from when you first started to speak. And I guess this is why it's really important to nurture that inner child within you, because if other people failed to do that when you were growing up, it really is your job to now do that as an adult, or that part of you will continue to run the show. So going back to me growing up, I faced a lot of issues, and it all comes down to not feeling safe, not feeling supported, not feeling like the people who should be lifting me up would lift me up, and I would be able to actually face the world on my own. So like anyone would do, you try to be strong, you try to get through it, but then every time you're faced with certain situations, the inner child in you will jump out. And for some people, they will handle certain situations in a certain way, whether it's helpful or not. And for me, I wouldn't handle them at all. I'm asleep. I'ma hit the sack, because honestly, that was my coping mechanism. That is what temporarily made things better. So I didn't properly feel my emotions. Instead, I learned to avoid them and to escape them. And trauma will do it to you. Trauma will do it to you if you don't learn healthy ways to release it. And going back to my childhood, it started off very rocky, like I said, with both my parents. But I guess I got some sort of hope at some point when, as I grew older, my relationship with my dad honestly got so much stronger. He became my best friend. He was so apologetic about the ways that he treated me in the past and really wanted to be better. I felt like I could trust him, and I could tell that he could trust me. I could tell he saw me as a person, and he actually believed in me, and I could feel it. The things that he would say to me, he really began to really lift me up. He really began to really encourage me, and I appreciated it so much because I could see it and I could feel it. He had a curiosity about me and wanted to actually see the world from my perspective and understand the world that I live in. He knew that we grew up in different times and that there were actually things that he could learn from me as I was growing up. We would actually have real conversations about things, and that healed a part of me. But I guess what messed me up was losing him at 16. And I don't know about you, but when I was young, honestly, I don't feel like I really believed in death. I was quite delusional, and not always in the good sense. I genuinely thought my parents and everyone around me is going to live forever. Like, there's no way someone can die. What does that even look like? That's impossible. That was how I approached life. And in an ideal world, that's honestly how it should be. None of us should experience losing a parent or a friend or a sibling or just anyone you consider being close to you, because in an ideal world, we should all live and be able to be free, be able to really love the people that we love for a long time and never have to think about it ending. but it ends. And sometimes it ends way earlier than it should. And when it did for me, that one little bit of hope that I had at learning how to actually build something with someone that I loved, I felt like it was taken from me. I felt like my heart was ripped out of my chest. And honestly, at first I couldn't believe it. But when it sunk in, I didn't know how to move forward. And I was left feeling so hopeless, especially because I had a parent who was also grieving and had never known how to emotionally regulate or have a real relationship with me. So just imagine all the thoughts that you've learned and the opinions and the beliefs that you have. A lot of them are from your childhood. And who controls your childhood? Your parents. For the most part, your parents and the people who are closest to you during that time, they're the ones who have certain beliefs, certain perceptions of the world. And you spend a lot of time with them because they're your caregivers. But imagine, because you spend so much time with them, you learn to see the world the same way they do. And so now, when you're experiencing the world for yourself, you're showing up with those same beliefs. You're showing up with certain actions that you've learned. You're showing up with certain mindsets, certain perspectives. And some of these things are not helping you. Some of these things might be great. They might be habits that you've learned along the way from people that you actually admire, or things that you've admired that you decided to add onto your personality. Like, I like that, so I'm gonna take that for myself. Thank you. And then you have some things that are just not helpful at all. They've taught you to react instead of respond. It's taught you to see the world from a limited lens or a negative lens. It's just taught you habits and perspectives and beliefs that are just not beneficial to the person that you know you want to be. Whether it's outdated beliefs from your friends or experiences that weren't so great or were traumatic or being bullied or just whatever it is, it's so crazy how these things really have an impact on you and how you show up in the world. But it's really important to be self-aware, not too self-aware, but self-aware enough that you see how these things are just not helpful, how some of these things are showing up in your life, in your actions, and how some of these things just can't come with you in your future. You have to honestly ask yourself, how is this affecting my relationships? How is this affecting relationships with people that I care about? Platonic, romantic. How is it affecting the way I see situations, my perspective? Is it allowing me to be able to see both sides? Is it making me reactionary, or can I just respond like an adult? How is my mindset around money, around opportunities? Do I have an abundance mindset? Do I have a scarcity mindset? What's my mental health like? Am I still thinking like the 12-year-old me, the 16-year-old me that went through certain things, certain traumas? Am I really regulating my emotions? Is my nervous system in check? Is it healthy? Am I healthy? Am I struggling? Are my opinions helpful? Are my beliefs conducive to the life that I actually want? When you start asking yourself all these honest questions and you're honest with yourself about how you show up, that's where change begins. Change begins with honesty about the ways that you're helping yourself and the ways that you're not, and then moving forward in creating those changes to become a better you. But I've had to learn that I have to be honest with myself from the jump. And on top of honesty, though, comes grace, because you can't be judging yourself every 2 seconds like other people do, or like the people who hurt you may have done. You have to be honest with yourself, but also give yourself the grace to know that you want to be better. I want to be better. So I will give myself the time to slowly make those changes every single day and be present as I make those changes. Boy, and being present is hard, especially when you've lived a life of escaping. So I get it. If there's anyone that gets it, it's me. But 2025 is honestly demanding so much more from us. It's demanding something different. And I know that we actually see a certain future for ourselves, and some of our vices actually need to they need to go. They need to go. Whether that's escaping through other people, whether that's escaping through other things, whether that's escaping through sleep, whether that is avoidance altogether, whatever it is that your vice is, whether it's a physical substance or an action, we actually need to take it day by day. But you have to learn to be present and sit with how you feel, because a lot of us aren't just escaping situations, we're escaping the emotions that we feel like we cannot get away from, because you can't escape from your body. So the minute you feel that sadness, some of us want to end it before it even begins. But it's actually okay. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel low. But it's about picking ourselves back up and knowing that you can. An unhealthy vice won't help. They just make the dips even lower. And I definitely learned that the hard way, like I'm sure a lot of people have. But you have to sit with it. The reality is genuinely what you make it. And we have so much more power in our minds than we know. But I think we actually need to learn how to harness it. And the power of alchemy. You can turn any situation that seems bad into something great. But you have to be present and give yourself the opportunity. And I guess that's where I'm at right now. I've been learning to really be present and to use the power of my mind to change what things look like. And so, although it's been a very tough journey, been facing a lot of ups and downs and really trying to let go of the past and actually be present in the moment, it's 2025 now, and I have come such a long way, even in a couple months, and especially in a year. Because this time last year, I didn't know a way out. I was self-aware. I knew where I was disrupting myself. I knew where I was limiting myself. But I still didn't know how exactly to step into the woman that I could be. Because when I looked around, I still felt like my circumstances were terrible. And I didn't know how to change them. So I really did feel powerless. But I really had to take the steps of actually first being present and sitting with the uncomfortable emotions that I had, the beliefs that I had, the thought processes that I had, the mistakes that I'd made. I had to sit with the shame that I felt, the guilt that I felt, and remind myself that, okay, it's okay that you feel these things. I'm not going to judge you, but at the same time, how long? For how long are you going to keep feeling like this and continuing on this cycle? It's time to sit with it, but understand it doesn't have power over you, and then release it. And now in 2025, I honestly feel so much lighter. I feel so much lighter because I'm on this journey of really healing my nervous system and healing my emotions and actually feeling my emotions rather than running away from them. And it was probably one of the best decisions I've made since I first moved out. But I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I feel like God's got jokes. God honestly has jokes, because on this journey, people have mirrored certain things back to me, which honestly forced me to take a look at myself. And not everybody is that self-aware, but I've hit a point where when I interact with someone, I'm able to see the best parts of myself that they mirror back to me, and most definitely the worst parts. And sometimes on your journey, you need to see it. You need to see yourself in other people to then also decide, oh, I need to make some changes because that ain't cute. That is not cute at all. And yeah, certain things got mirrored back to me that I was not feeling. I'll give you a quick example. I met some guy, right? And he was honestly my type to a T. I'm going to call him type 1 because that might be number 1 on my list, I'll be honest. And I've got a couple types, but I'm going to call him type number 1. He was great. He was great in the sense that I love learning about spirituality, the power of the mind. I love learning things that I didn't necessarily learn growing up because there's so much knowledge out there. And I feel like confining yourself to the limited knowledge that you've learned or what you've been told to learn and not allowing yourself to expand your mind is just, it's so limiting. It doesn't allow you to understand other cultures, other perspectives, history, and just so much more out there. So I take it upon myself to try to learn as much as possible. And the more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know anything, because there is so much out there. There's so much truth. There's a lot of lies. But in order to find what works for you, I guess you decipher it all. You go through it all and you take what works. But upon meeting this guy, I really felt like you're not the typical UK type of guy. Some of the guys in this country, they have a persona that they like to follow, and some of them are pretenders. But with this one, I felt like, regardless, I may not know you too deeply, but you're definitely very intelligent. You're definitely open-minded, and there's definitely a part of you that I see in myself also. You're a knowledge seeker. You like to learn, and you're a student, and you're a teacher. You love to be able to speak about the things that you've learned. And I think it's just so attractive in a guy when he can listen and he can also express himself. But there was another part of him that I definitely saw that was quite immature. He had a lot of knowledge, but he wasn't quite ready to embody the things that he'd learned. And I can't judge him because I feel like I was the same. Because honestly, sometimes changing and actually becoming the things that you know you should be, you then have to look at your life and make sacrifices. And sometimes those sacrifices include people that you love, your comfort zone, habits that have really taken you through outgrowing the old you. And it really demands a high level of responsibility, accountability, a high level of discipline that not everyone is ready for at certain points of their journey. And I definitely wasn't. So when I saw it in him, it genuinely made me feel like, oh my gosh, this actually must be how I look. You know, when you know better, but you don't do better. And we make excuses for ourselves because, shit, it's ourselves. And I guess we accept ourselves to some degree. But when you see it on someone else and you realize that this is something you do not like, it forces you to really look at yourself, especially when it's something you know that you see in yourself. And I was thinking, damn, like, I want better for you. I want better for you. I want you to feel like you can be free and be fully yourself, because I can tell this is who you want to be, but you are lukewarm. You have one foot in and one foot out. But in knowing that I wanted better for him, I had to look at myself and think the same for myself as well. I want better for me. And if this is how you look and I can see you in me, not in that way, then I need to change. I need to be better. I need to be different. I need to grow. But sometimes it takes more than just one experience to force you to make the changes. And clearly I needed multiple. And that takes me to my second mirror. Now, this guy, he was nothing like type 1. I would say he was the complete opposite. So I'm going to call him not type 1, not type 2, but type none, because he wasn't my type at all. He wasn't my type in the slightest, but we had some similar interests. Well, a handful, less than a handful of similar interests. But this guy, type none, he mirrored back parts of me that I just absolutely had outgrown. I used to be someone who, when it came to people that were close to me, I didn't necessarily know how to handle conflict because I loved them. And so I didn't want any trouble with people that I love. Anyone outside of that, different story. I mean, I wouldn't go out there looking for trouble, but with people that were close to me, I genuinely didn't know how to properly navigate those interactions, those confrontations. So I would forgive in silence, but not actually voice how I felt. And being someone who had outgrown that and actually learnt how important it is to actually have conversations, how important it is to actually not avoid confrontation or hard conversations, but just learn how to navigate them in a healthy way. When I met someone type none who kept things in and harbored those emotions and used them against you later, someone who had this good guy trope about him and yet wasn't actually self-aware about how he navigated the world, his perceptions, his beliefs. Someone who was very close-minded and wasn't someone who cared about learning and expanding his knowledge or expanding his mind. Someone who was just happy being who he was, even though there were a lot of very visible issues that he had and many ways that he really wasn't happy with himself and yet didn't do much to change it. And interacting with that kind of person really made me realize that there is no way I could know better and not be better. It was important for me to take the steps to actually make the changes, or I'd have to end up, by default, like this person. The person who reminded me of people from my past. The person who had certain traits that I actively had tried to grow from. The person who literally embodied someone that I truly didn't want to be. And this was not being judgmental towards him, but it was honestly just a reminder that growth and increasing your knowledge and learning and not being limited by your perception of the world is very important. And if I knew that I could be better and think better, why would I choose to do anything but that? So I had to give myself permission to be the person I could be, to take it day by day, and to remind myself I don't have to be perfect by tomorrow. It's actually all about the journey. It really isn't about getting to the destination, because you'll get there. But it's the process and allowing it to slowly unfold and being present through it. That is really what matters. And so after hitting my lowest and then working my way back up, life does what it does. It tests you to see if you really are about what you've learned and you're really about this new lifestyle. You're really about change. Because I knew I didn't want to be the same anymore. And I really started to shift internally. And I'm so grateful that I did, because every day I genuinely started to feel better, more confident, more me. And I started to release the old weight. Yes, I've been through a lot, but it doesn't have to define me or my future. But then, December 2024, we got some news. My landlord handed us our notice and said, you have a couple months to get ready and find a new place. I was gobsmacked for weeks, I'm not gonna lie, yes. And at first, I wanted to hold on. I was thinking, what on earth? I'm trying to change. I'm trying to focus on my mental health here. I'm trying to fix my life and put the pieces back together. Why now? And then I actually realized, you know what? I've been asking for change. And sometimes you think it looks a certain way, but actually, alchemy, a situation that might look bad, isn't bad. It's just a situation. It's how you define it that determines whether it's a good situation or a bad situation. And so even though it's very fast approaching, I decided that it doesn't have to be a bad thing. this can literally be a new beginning for me. A new beginning where I really embody who I need to be. A new beginning where I begin to embrace freedom. I begin to embrace change. I start doing the things that I love, that I've always seen that I can do. I start believing in myself regardless of what anybody else thinks. And I start taking the steps towards a future that I've always envisioned. And that's where I am right now. You see, very soon I have to move from the place I'm currently living at, even though I was not ready, even though right now, externally, it definitely looks like I'm not ready. But internally, I'm at a place of peace. I'm at a place where I feel so much lighter and I feel so positive about this change, even though I have no clue how I'm going to pay for it yet. And I don't actually know how I'm going to pull certain things off. I don't know how certain things are going to plan out, but I know that I feel so much more in alignment than I ever did before. I'm no longer walking in fear, but I'm walking in courage, and I feel powerful. Things are changing. The end is approaching, but I know that it's creating space for a brand new beginning. And so I know everything somehow works out in my favor for my good. So I'm taking the steps and approaching this as if it's already done. It's already sorted and I can be at ease. I know that when you make changes internally, they will be reflected externally. And so it's important to make the changes within yourself and everything will work out for you. But it's honestly so important to look at your beliefs, look at the actions that you're taking, look at your focus. Where is your focus? And begin to shift those and align it to the version of yourself that you can be, the version of yourself that you know you've always desired, the higher version of yourself that doesn't have the same problems that you do now, that has transcended your old identity, the past, and all the issues or negativity you once held on to. But you have to let go. You actually have to let go. When it comes to stepping into who you're meant to be, when it comes to stepping into yourself, you have to let go of all the baggage, all the noise, and all the extra stuff that isn't you at your core. And instead, step into your authenticity. Embrace what makes you you. So I guess that's why I'm making this podcast. This is the first episode. And honestly, it's a testament to the journey that I've been on and my growth over the years, because this has been a long time coming for me. And it's exciting. It's so exciting when you look at your external reality and things look like they are going to shit. Things look crazy and scary and nothing is sorted and everything looks a mess, but you're literally the calm through the chaos. And eventually the external will match. Everything will calm itself down. You'll have a new norm. But sometimes you honestly have to embrace the change, embrace the discomfort, and that's where I'm at. I'm embracing this journey. I'm more present every single day. I'm no longer escaping through sleep. I'm actually excited to wake up and get my day started. And boy, it's been a long time coming. Feeling like this has been a long time coming, but every single day I feel more free. And it's funny because all it took was giving myself the permission. Not from anyone else, but me. It was letting go of the shame, the guilt, the sadness, the depression, and telling myself, you know what, I have so much more control when changing my life than I used to believe. I have so much more power than I used to believe. And I can create and make any situation great, regardless of what it looks like. So give yourself permission this year to step into yourself, to step into your confidence, to trust who you are at your core, and not the extra noise that was added by other people, but really try to be the best version of yourself, regardless of what the past looks like. It honestly doesn't determine your future. It doesn't determine where you're going. And other people's circumstances or opinions doesn't determine who you are or where you're going either. Everybody's journey is different, but everybody's journey is also created by their own beliefs and perceptions. And so if somebody says that something isn't possible, it's because they believe it's not possible for themselves. But that's got nothing to do with you. And I had to learn that. And with learning that, it really opens up a world of opportunity. It really allows you to see reality as this infinite amount of opportunity, infinite amount of decisions that you can make that will lead you on the path of your greatness. But embrace the turbulence, embrace the lows, embrace the highs, be present through it all, because it doesn't last forever. There's always day after night. So be here, don't fear, be present, be true to yourself, and do what you want to do. What is it that you've always wanted to do? What is it that you've been afraid to do? It's time for you to do it. It's time for you to face it. It's time for you to show up. Be authentic and be the person, be the voice that your inner child always needed. Your circumstances do not have to change before you begin the journey of becoming, before you begin the journey of being the best version of yourself. Start with you, and honestly, everything else will follow. And so just as a reminder, I am in my changing season. Everything is honestly unknown on the other side. Everything feels very uncomfortable and it's quite scary. But at the same time, I am also a testimony of you can have courage and confidence before things have changed, knowing that everything is going to work out in your favor. And so I hope that in my future episode, you will join me as I celebrate a successful move to my own place. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited for you to join me on my journey of becoming, my journey of sharing myself, my heart, my mind, my authenticity, and just allowing myself to really and finally be free, just like the 12-year-old me wanted. And I honestly hope that you can do the same. I hope that you've listened to this and have felt inspired in some sort of way to take the leap that you've been holding off or you've been unsure about, and remind yourself that this is your world. You can do anything in it. We're all just side characters. I'm telling you that right now. We are all just side characters in your story. So allow yourself to be the main character, not the side on your set. Come on. That's crazy. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you join me with a little bottle of wine on the next episode, and I can't wait to see you there. I am RaySL. This is Time to Be Real, and I guess I'll see you next time. Just pulled up to the house.